Hi, Phanessa here. In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to knit this umbrella stocking. So you have the option to use contrasting color, or you can just make it one solid color. I did run out of yarn, so I incorporated the contrasting color in the heel and the toe and the cuffs. So I did use a different strap to hold it up. I will show you how to work the I-cord. So if you don't have any straps, you can just attach an I-cord. For this tutorial, the pattern is going to be for this one here. Okay, this green one where there's contrasting colors in these areas. So I started the video with the blue one and then I ran out of yarn. So I had to add the contrasting color. So this one I actually used 2 strands of worsted weight. And for all of these, I used the same size needle, but they all kind of turned out different sizes because of the size of each of the yarn. So this one's thicker, so it turned out a little bit bigger. I think this one is more of the size that you'll get when following instructions. The measurement is 17 inches by 7.5 inches. That's an approximate measurement. All right, so I am using super bulky weight yarn. For the needles, I'm using a US 15, which is 10 millimeters, and I'm using a 16-inch circular needle. You can definitely use DPNs if you like, the double pointed needles. So you'll just get a US 15 DPN. You'll need about 4 of those. And this is optional, but with the I-cord, I used a slightly smaller, so that's a US 11 8 millimeter. So you need tape measure, a pair of scissors, tapestry needle, and I forgot, but you'll need several stitch markers. Well, about 2 or 3 stitch markers. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to cast on 37 stitches. That's an extra stitch for the invisible join. So under this strand here, you want to go under, and then you want to swing on over to this side and then go from the top down. So over, and then back through that same space that you went into. So this is just a long tail cast on. I'll leave links if you need assistance with that. I'll just go ahead and show it to you one more time and then we'll move forward. Okay, so I have 37 stitches. We want to now join. Make sure that your stitches are not twisted. And we're going to start by inserting our right hand needle into the left purl rise, and then pick up this stitch here and pass it over the stitch you just slipped and then drop it. So the additional stitch that we casted on is now gone. So we have 36 stitches. Grab your stitch marker, place it on your needle, and then we're going to work a 1x1 rib, but we're going to work our knit stitches through the back loop. So here's the first stitch. I'm going to insert my needle through the back loop, and then I'm going to knit this stitch. For the next stitch, I'm going to purl. So you're just going to repeat, knitting through the back loop, and then purl. I am going to be switching back and forth from continental and English style, traditional English, just for those that knit one way or the other. So right here I am knitting continental style. Now I'm switching over to traditional. So I'm going to knit through back loop and then yarn forward and purl the next stitch, and then yarn in the back. So I'm going to knit through back loop So continue this all the way around. Work 9 rounds for the cuff. We're starting on the top going down. Okay, round 1, I've slipped my marker. We're just going to knit every stitch around for the first round. Okay, not much of a difference when you're working traditional English style. Just knit every stitch around. Okay, I'm at the end of round 1. Slip your marker. Now we're ready for round 2, and this will be the same for round 3. So these 3 stitches you're going to slip. Bring your yarn forward, so you want your yarn in the front. You're going to slip 3 stitches. Make sure that the strand in front is loose enough over the 3 stitches. Bring it to the back, and then we're going to knit 1. So that's the repeat around. You're going to slip 3 with the yarn in the front. 1, 2, and 3. Make sure it's loose across. Bring your yarn to the back and knit 1. Slip 3, 1, 2, and 3. Yarn to the back and knit 1. Traditional English style, yarn forward, slip 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn in the back. Make sure it's loose. I find that knitting this way, I tend to knit a little bit tighter. Knit 1, so yarn forward, slip 3, 2, 3, yarn in the back. Again, make sure it's loose, and knit your next stitch. Okay, I'm at the end of round 2. For round 3, it's exactly the same thing. You're going to slip 3, and then knit 1. Okay, so now you have 2 strands that are coming across the front. Just repeat that all the way around. Okay, I'm at the end of round 3, slip my marker. Now I'm going to knit 1, and then to knit the next stitch, I'm going to go under these 2 strands. So I'm knitting under loose strands. Bring your needle under the 2 strands, and then knit the next stitch. Go back under the strands, and then you can drop the stitch off your left hand needle. So it's always the center stitch of the 3 that gets knitted under loose strands. Okay, knit 3. Again, I'll show you how to knit under the loose strands. So there's 2 strands there. Bring your needle and go under both strands to knit your next stitch. Come back under the strands, and then you want to continue that all the way around. So knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Now you want to knit under loose strands, insert your needle under, and then knit the next stitch. Okay, repeat this all the way around. Okay, I'm at the end. I have 2 more stitches to knit, and then I'm going to slip my marker. Now I'm ready for round 5, and round 5 is just going to be knit every stitch. So you're just knitting every stitch all the way around. Okay, I'm at the end of round 5. So here's my marker. I'm going to slip that. For round 6, you're going to stagger these stitches down here. So you're going to start with a knit 2, and then now you're going to slip the next 3 with the yarn in the front. Okay, just like you did before. And then you want to knit. Just make sure you bring your yarn back and forth for the appropriate stitches. Yarn in the front, slip 3, yarn in the back, knit 1. So you're going to repeat this all the way around, and this one's a little different because the strands that go in the front is going to go across 2 rounds. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to place my yarn in the front and slip the last 2 stitches. Then I'm going to slip my marker, and for the first stitch of round 7, I'm going to slip 1 with the yarn in front and then knit. So I'm going to repeat, slip 3, and then knit the next stitch. So slip 3 with the yarn in front and then knit the next stitch. So repeat this around. I'm at the end of round 7. I'm going to slip the last 2 stitches, slip my marker, and now I'm ready for round 8. So slip the first stitch with yarn in front. Now we're going to work underneath the loose strands into the center stitch of the 3. So knit 2 and then knit the next stitch under the loose strands, just like you did on round 4. So repeat, knit 3 and then knit 1 under the loose strands. So go ahead and repeat this all the way around, and you're going to end with knitting under loose strands. Okay, I'm at the end of round 8. Again, your last stitch is going to be the knit 1 under loose strands. Slip your marker. Now it's going to be knit every stitch around. So this is back to round 1. So you're going to repeat rounds 1 through 8 3 more times. So you'll have a total of 4 sets. You can adjust this section up until you get to the heel portion. As you can see in the beginning, I had 3 different stockings and I used the same needles, and they were all a little different, just depending on the thickness of your yarn. So measure as you go if you want to customize your stocking. Okay, now we're ready for the heel section. The heels are going to be worked over 18 stitches. So grab a marker and mark the 19th stitch, or place one between the 18th and 19th stitch. But we are working over 18 stitches, and it's going to be worked in rows instead of in the round. So you can place the remaining 18 stitches on hold, but I don't think it's necessary. So I'm just going to use the needles that I have. Okay, so row 1, you're going to knit 17, and then on the 18th stitch, you're going to wrap and turn. Okay, so we're going to wrap and turn the 18th stitch. I just placed a marker there so you can see. So you want to place your yarn in the front, slip purlwise, place your yarn in the back, and then slip that same stitch back onto your left hand needle. Then you're going to turn. So you want to make sure this is tight. So basically you're wrapping your yarn around that 18th stitch, and then now we're going to go back in the other direction. So you're going to now purl 16, and then you're going to work a wrap and turn on the 17th stitch. Okay, so the wrap and turn on the wrong side, you're going to place your yarn in the back, slip the next stitch, place your yarn back in the front, and then slip that same stitch back, and then you turn. Okay, and now we're ready to knit across this row. So this is row 3. You're going to knit 15. Just make sure you tighten that. So as you can see, each row will have one less stitch to knit, and you're going to do that until you have 6 stitches left and 12 rows. Okay, so if you look here, the last wrap and turn we did was right next to the marker, and you can see there's a little strand that wraps around that stitch. So you know that this stitch here is your next wrap and turn. Okay, so to wrap and turn, traditional English style, you're going to bring your yarn forward, slip the stitch from left to right, again purlwise, bring your yarn back, and slip that same stitch back onto your left hand needle. Okay, so now we can turn, and we're ready to work row 4. Okay, so we're going to purl across and then wrap and turn again on the 15th. So purl 14 stitches and then wrap and turn on the 15th stitch. Okay, so let's take a look here. This one here, it's a little hard to tell on the wrong side, but right here we have this very first stitch here wrapped. You can see there, it does look like a purl stitch, so you can check the front side. You'll be able to see it a lot better. Or you can move your marker every single time that you work your wrap and turn. Okay, so yarn in the back, slip from left to right purlwise, yarn in the front, and then slip that same stitch back onto your left hand needle. Okay, so now you can turn, and you're going to repeat that back and forth. So again, every row is going to have one less stitch for you to work before the wrap and turn. So you're going to repeat this until you have 12 rows. So you're going to stop after you have purled 6 and then work your wrap and turn, and then you will start on the right side. And then on the next row, we're going to start picking up those wraps that we did in the last 12 rows. Okay, so I'm on the 12th row working my last wrap and turn. I'm going to turn. Now we're going to start picking up wraps. So the wraps around our stitches on this side here, so you can see them right there. And then the wraps on this side, we're going to pick up as well. Okay, so you can see them here. It's harder to see on the wrong side. Okay, row 13, we're going to knit across 6 stitches, and then we are going to pick up the wrap on the 7th stitch. Again, if you're having trouble, I recommend that you place a marker on the stitch that you need to pick up your wraps, and then just move it every time you work another row. So this is the stitch that I want to pick up. So you can see here the wraps around this stitch. You're going to insert your needle from the front and then place it on the left hand needle like that. You're going to then knit these 2 stitches together, and then the next stitch is going to be your wrap and turn. Again, yarn forward, slip your stitch left to right, yarn back, and then slip that same stitch back, and then turn. Okay, so row 14, you're going to purl 7, and then pick up your wrap, and then wrap and turn. So in these sets of rows, it's the opposite. Each row, you're going to have 1 additional stitch to work. Okay, so I'm here on my 8th stitch. If you turn it around, you can see the wrap right here. It's easier if you turn it around. So we're going to pick it up here right from the front. So you're going to insert your needle through that loop there in the front, so on the right side, and then you're going to pull that up and place it on your left hand needle. Make sure you don't twist the stitch. Then you're going to purl these 2 stitches together. And then the next stitch is going to be your wrap and turn. So wrap and turn on the wrong side, yarn in the back, slip, yarn in the front, slip back, and then turn. If you need that slowed down, please check the description box below. The timestamps will help you get to the wrap and turn section. Okay, so we're going to knit across 8 stitches, and then on the 9th stitch, we're going to pick up the wrap. And then on the 10th, we're going to work another wrap and turn. Okay, so I just worked the 8th stitch. This is the 9th. We're going to pick up this wrap here. So insert your needle from underneath and then place this loop here, okay, onto the left hand needle. Make sure you don't twist your stitches. And then you're going to knit these 2 stitches together. Then the very next stitch is going to be another wrap and turn. So yarn forward, slip, yarn back, slip back to your left hand needle, and then you can turn. Okay, so now we're on row 16. So you're going to purl across 9, then you're going to pick up the wrap on the 10th stitch, and then on the 11th you're going to work your wrap and turn. Okay, so this is the next wrap that we want to pick up. You can see it right here. We're going to pick it up from the right side. So this strand here, you want to pick up and then place it on your left hand needle. Make sure it's not twisted, And then you're going to purl these 2 stitches together. The next stitch will be your wrap and turn. Okay, so yarn in the back, slip from left to right, yarn in the front, slip that same stitch back to your left hand needle, and then turn your work. Okay, so you are going to repeat back and forth, picking up your wraps and then working a wrap and turn. You'll notice after every row you will have 1 additional stitch to knit or purl before you need to pick up your wrap. Okay, so I'm on my last row here. This is the wrong side. I'm going to pick up this wrap here. So I'm going to purl them together. And now you're going to have to remove your stitch marker in order to work your wrap and turn. So yarn back, slip from left to right, yarn forward, and slip that same stitch back and turn. So now you can place your marker back. And we are ready to start the instep. So you're going to work 1 round of knit stitches. You're basically going to repeat rounds 1 through 8 from the leg portion. So you'll do that 3 times. And for round 1, it's just knitting all the stitches. If you are using contrasting color for the heel, make sure you switch to the main color. Okay, so I'm at the end. I'm going to move my marker. So that was round 1. We're going to now work round 2. So you're repeating rounds 1 through 8 3 times. You can adjust this by working as many rounds as you need for the desired length of the instep. Just keep in mind that you still have the toe to work. Okay, so now we're ready for the toe section. I did have to switch the stocking. I ran out of yarn, so I will need to rip this back and add some contrasting color. So I've worked 3 sets of the leg portion, and now I'm ready to switch to the contrasting color to work the toe. So I'm just placing the contrasting color and knitting that first stitch. I'm just going to tie a couple of knots back here just so that I know it's secure. Okay, so now we're going to knit every stitch around. Okay, so for all of the odd number rounds for the toe, it's just going to be knit all stitches. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. Now we're ready for round 2. So we're going to knit 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to work these 2 stitches together. So insert your needle through both of the loops to work your knit stitch. Repeat, knit 4, and then knit 2 together. So that's what you're going to repeat all the way around. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 2. For round 3, again, all odd number rows, we're going to just knit every stitch. Okay, so for round 4, we are going to repeat knit 3 and then knit 2 together. So I'm going to knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to knit the next 2 stitches together. So you're going to repeat knit 3, knit 2 together all the way around. Okay, round 5, you're just going to knit every stitch. Okay, round 6, we're going to now knit 2 and then knit 2 together. Knit 2 and knit 2 together. For round 7 and 9, you're just going to knit every stitch. And then for rounds 8 and 10, it's going to be knit 1 and then knit 2 together. Okay, so you have a total of 10 rounds for the toe. Okay, so cut your yarn, leaving a long tail so you can weave in your ends. Grab your tapestry needle, and we're going to remove the remaining stitches. We're going to insert the tapestry needle as if to knit and pull off these remaining stitches. So insert as if to knit and pull off. Just keep doing that until you have all of the stitches off of your knitting needles. I'm just going to weave my ends and secure it on the inside of the stocking. So go right through the center of the hole and turn your stocking inside out. Okay, now I'm going to just go around the center right here once. So I'm going to insert my needle and just kind of follow the circle. To secure this, I'm going to go in halfway, grab my yarn, and I'm just going to wrap it around my needle, place my thumb here to hold it in place, and then pull through and tighten. Okay, so you can just cut your yarn or weave it in a little bit more. You can weave in all of your remaining ends now, or do that after you have knitted your I-cord, if that's what you're going to be using. Okay, for the strap, you can use the I-cord. So I'm going to use a smaller needle size. You do need double pointed needles. I'm using the US 11 8mm. So you want to cast on 4 stitches. I'm just going to use the long tail cast on method, and I'm going to cast on 4 stitches. So that's 3 and 4. Okay, so there's 4 stitches. Now you're going to knit these 4 stitches. Okay, so knit 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now we're not going to turn our work. We're going to slide these stitches over, and then we're going to knit 4 again. Okay, so the yarn is going to be on the left side, but you want to pull the yarn over to this side here and knit your first stitch. And then after you knit this first one, make sure you tug on the working yarn to make it a little bit tighter. Okay, so you're going to knit the remaining 3 stitches. So I have 2 stitches left. And now last stitch. And now you repeat. So slide these 4 stitches to the other side of your double pointed needles, and then continue. So knit 4. So I repeated until my piece measured about 7 inches. If you stretch it, it's about 9. If you're hanging this, it's going to stretch. So just measure to see how long you want this piece, and then when you're ready, you can cast off. So that looks good to me. So I did go off of my camera a little bit, so I'm replacing the video. So you want to knit 2 stitches, and then grab the first knitted stitch and pass it over the last stitch that you knitted, and then drop it. And then you're going to repeat, knit 1, and then grab that second one and pass it over. Okay, so you do only have 4 stitches for your I-cord. So when you've casted off the last one, you'll have 1 loop on your needle, and then you can just cut your yarn. Make sure you leave a tail so that you can use it to sew it onto the inside of your stocking. Okay, so find the back, and you want to attach it to the inside. I have one here, but I'm just going to push that out of the way. I did put the needle through the very first stitch right here, but I recommend going down at least to the 3rd round. That was an afterthought. So once you get it through those 2 loops, go back into your I-cord, and then grab the other end of your I-cord. You want to run your tapestry needle through that as well. Make sure it's not twisted. Okay, I'm starting on the far corner. So I'm coming through here. And then I'm going to go back down through both layers of the I-cord. So back down here. And then onto the right through the other I-cord. And then I want to insert it through my stocking. And I'm just going to pick up the loops on the inside so that it doesn't show on the right side of the stocking. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next stitch and go through both loops. Again, I recommend going at least 3 rounds down. Okay, back up the first layer of the I-cord and then up out of this layer of I-cord. So you're basically just wanting to sew together both ends of the I-cord to your stocking. So it was still a little floppy, mostly because I attached it too high, but you can secure it more just by running the ends through the I-cord and the stockings a few times. This is where I realized I should have went at least to the 3rd round here. Okay, so if you go, that's the first one that we went through, and then that's the second. I would go through the 3rd one and then sew it together. So I'm going to secure this a little bit more because it was still a little floppy. I'm just using the ends to kind of go back and forth through the stocking and through the I-cord. Okay, so don't forget to weave in any remaining ends on the inside. This is the stocking that the pattern is written for, and you can adjust with contrasting color or solid colors. You can adjust the length by repeating more or less rounds. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and hit that notification button. It really helps out my channel. I will see you in my next video.